So today is Wednesday, March 3rd, and I'm noticing the chickens got into my strawberry bed. Some of them have already been destroyed. I came out last night. It was so dark by the time I was able to get home that I couldn't actually see them. And then when I go to work in the morning, it's dark. So this is my first chance of seeing them after the chicken invasion. I'm seeing some roots here. Little boogers. I know there are people who do not let their chickens anywhere near their garden areas. I'm not one of those people. I actually love my chickens in the garden area. They eat and poop. It's a good thing. They scratch up bugs. It's a good thing. But this was not. Now this bed looks atrocious, but I did put a layer of the soil. I can see they were in here scratching around too. Yeah, I don't see the plants that were down here. Oh, they buried them a little. You cannot bury the crown of your plant because it'll rot. So I gotta unbury. And this little stand-up planter is now a strawberry planter. And these two big guys are now strawberry planters as well. So I keep finding strawberries just uprooted. I need to get back in the ground. Oh, is that? Yeah. Chickens are pesty. I mean, they're very beneficial. They're eating all kinds of good stuff we want them to eat, like bugs and things, but not sure why they have feel the need to. Well, never mind. They're chickens. They're gonna scratch up the world. So I just replanted these. I just found them basically upside down. This one's partially out, but not all the way. So I have got, this might have been one at one point. I've got to figure out a way to keep these chickens out of here. It's finally time. I get to transplant some of my plants into the garden. It is March 11th today, and generally, as you can see, the little pond that is our garden, generally we don't get anything out here because everything is so wet. But last year we put in some raised beds for tomatoes, and then we covered them so we could actually get some tomatoes before the year was up. Because where I live, it's not real warm here, and tomatoes need warm to ripen. So anyways, let me show you what we're gonna plant today. So I have some broccoli, pak choi, and cabbage starts that I've been hardening off on our porch, and I'm going to plant some of them in our tomato beds. See, they are needing to get out of here and find themselves a new home. So that's the plan today. Some of this free soil that we got from some weed farmers, it's gonna go to that bed also. So that's what I'm doing right now. So these beds are 4 feet wide, and I'll be able to put a plant about every foot. I have very limited time, so it's not fancy, but it will grow plants. So I'm just pulling out one of my plants. They are way root bound. I'm terrible plant mama this time around. You want to make sure that the soil level goes right to where the soil level was on the plant on the brassicas. Some plants it's okay to bury the stem, and even beneficial, like peppers and tomatoes, because they'll just grow more roots where all those little hairs are on the stem. But the brassica family, like cabbage, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, that sort of thing, they don't work that way. Now I have heard that some people do plant their leggy brassicas up the stem a bit, but I have not had a lot of success with that. It might be because we have such a high level of moisture in the soil that it rots the stems. But let me show you what I'm talking about. Now your plant will start growing new leaves from here. So you never ever want to plant above here. You may be able to plant up to right below it with no problems whatsoever. I mean, if you had really leggy broccoli or something, you might want to give it a go and plant it up the stem a bit, an inch or so, as long as you don't go over those bottom leaves. It's probably a better bet than just leaving it as is and having it like topple over or get damaged in the wind or something. I don't know. Personally, I plant it right at the soil level because I know that's safe. These were seeded indoors and they were under a grow light for a while, and the last week and a half, I'd say, they've been outside on the porch getting hardened off. So hardening off is when you take a seedling and you place it outdoors for part of the day so that it can get used to the difference in the environment. So if you just put it out in the sun, it would fry them. They're not used to that strong sunlight. The ladies are going to want to feast on my delicious buffet here, but they're going to be sad tomorrow when they're locked out of here. Now, some of these cells have more than one plant. This one has one plant, this one has two plants. This one actually has 3 plants. I am not going to get rid of any of these plants. I'm going to plant them just how they are, like this, in the soil. Oh, look at who's trying to steal some cabbage. No. Go away. And all of the broccoli plant is edible. So as they grow up a little bit, I'm going to harvest off the parts of the smaller or the weaker plants and we'll eat those. And then whatever's left, the stronger plant, we'll get to actually develop the broccoli heads. But these can grow together for a little while longer. I feel like, you know, we can get some food off of them, even if it's a little bit. Those first leaves that come up, I like to pinch them off because they're just kind of yellow and unattractive. And they're not going to do any good. So doesn't that look so much nicer? Goodbye, little guys. You did your job. All is well. Now the chickens get to have a snacky snack. That looks so much nicer, doesn't it? Tasty morsels for you. There you go. No, not that close, not that close. Go get the ones I gave you. I'm actually spacing my broccoli pretty close together because I don't really plan on having it all that long out here. It's gonna be out here until probably, hello darling. It's gonna be out here until probably May when we put the tomatoes out. And then after that we'll harvest all that we have and we'll put broccoli in out there somewhere. There. These protect against the slugs, they protect against the ladies, and they're going to protect against the sun as well, because I think they were hardened off pretty good, but I don't want to chance it. It'll help protect against the wind. It gets very, very windy. As you can see, they're a little leggy since they've been on the porch. They were fantastic in under the grow light, but on the porch, they did not get quite enough light. There are a lot of cold tolerant plants that can be going out in your garden before the last frost date, and brassicas are one of them. Along with a lot of mustards, pak choi, bok choy, lettuces, some of the lettuces, and alliums like onions, scallions, garlic, all that stuff. Now some of that could have been planted in the fall even, like onions and garlic, where I live anyways. If you get tons of snow, maybe not, I don't know. I don't know how to grow things in the snow, but in the rain, I know how to grow things, kinda. Well, that's what I got done tonight. There are 21 broccolis here, and I think I counted 16 pak choi. I know they're a little close together, but we will be harvesting them by May, so they're gonna be good. Then in May, when I put all of the rest of the broccoli and cabbage and stuff like that out there, I let that grow through the fall. We eat on it in the entire summer because you can cut off the broccoli heads and then they grow side sprouts and you can eat those too. Plus you can eat the leaves and the stalk and all of the plant. Alright, I'm going to be spending a few minutes cleaning up out here today. This junk plastic just was shredded in the wind and we just have not picked it up. So it got shredded and blown everywhere and I need to clean it up before I do much more out here. Alright, so I still do have some transplants to take care of, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some good soil into I'm just gonna pot them up into these little things so that they have a little bit more room, because they are really root bound in there right now. The lavender is starting to get flower heads. I didn't know it would do it so early. Here are some of the strawberries we planted. We've got some thyme.
Yeah.
The parsley that the deer ate is coming back. So our artichokes are starting to get a little larger. It's the rosemary. This is the little perennial area. That little artichoke is hanging in there. Marjoram, thyme. Those are all foxglove. I never have a problem with mint to getting chewed up, but something is messing with this one. This is spearmint. The other one I have peppermint. So this spearmint, and then this is a spearmint too. I'm just surprised that something's eating on. I've never had problems with our other mint. Things don't like them. But check this out. Cauliflowers and the kales are doing fantastic in there. And then some more. And I did see earlier today that the cilantro is starting to sprout. This bed of strawberries is looking really nice. This is a really heavily amended bed. And this one is a really good tub too. It has some good soil in it. I know they're way too close, but I was desperate for needing to plant stuff. So it is time. I need to transplant my artichokes. I don't know if you can see, but the roots are just starting to come through. I have been hardening off these plants for about 2 weeks. They've been coming outside and hanging out, kind of sheltered under the porch area for part of the time. Like at night they go up. They're still on the porch, so they're out in the cold, but they're not directly out where they're gonna get frost on them. But it's time. They're big boys and girls now, so I need to find somewhere to put them, because we do have our other 2 artichoke plants over in this area. So I'm debating putting another one maybe here. And we live amongst a lot of trees, so this isn't always the best place for light. So I'm looking for places to plant those artichokes. Most people probably would have had in mind where they're going to put them before they even started the seeds, but not me. For me, this is the perfect time of year to find where to plant perennials, because I can see where the water sits the worst. Where the water sits and doesn't drain well. In the summer, it's not as easy to remember these things, so I'm keeping my eyes open. Because this is the year of perennials. I'm just going to take a handful of organic fertilizer, sprinkle it in there. This is what I have. There's some nice root development, but it's not root bound, so that's a good thing. So when I plant this, I want it to end up with where it's this to be at the top of the soil line. So I need to fill in a little bit with some dirt under here. All right, one down. Artichokes are perennial in mild winter areas where you don't get really cold. If you live where it gets really cold, mulch thickly around them, and maybe even cut them down to the ground in the fall. Mulch around them really good, and then they might survive winter. It doesn't hurt to try. Did get my 7 artichokes planted. Now some of them are here along the sidewalk. So I just quickly dug a spot for all 6 of these little fellas, and then I have another one over where the original ones are. Along this is a sidewalk right here. So many years ago there was a home here and it burnt down, and all that's left is the sidewalk. So we haven't taken the sidewalk out, we just have left it there because we don't really do anything up here. But I wanted to turn this area into an area where perennials can be. So these artichokes that I've planted out today should start producing some heads for us next year. The ones that I planted last year should produce us with some this year. And then in probably 4 years, I'll start some new plants, because artichokes generally last 3 to 5 years and produce well, and then they start to decline. So about every 4th year, I'll just start some new seeds. Like most things, they do best in full sun, and this part of the property does get a little bit more shade than I would like, especially in the morning. But I think they'll do okay. I'm gonna plant out a few of our little onion seedlings, which I probably should have done a while ago, but life is busy. They're gonna be going in amongst the strawberry plants. I'm gonna try to do this one-handed, but what I do is I take the onions out and then I just separate them. Try to... I see an onion in there. Come here, little guy. So I'll just separate them all out. And then I'm just gonna plant them in amongst the strawberries. Lots of little critters don't like onions, so maybe that'll help keep them away from my strawberries. I just gently pull them apart to separate them. They separate really easily if you sow a bunch in one container. Probably the easiest thing to separate out of all the little veggies. These were doing the poorest, so I decided to go ahead and transplant them out. Now, I need to get my big bag of them too. I haven't taken the time to do that. You know, when something seems like an overwhelming task, that would be how I'm feeling about that bag of onions right now. Not enough hours in the day. Alright, that one doesn't have much room. So I messed up on the onions this year. I did not put them on a timer for the light, and they got way too much light. They should have been getting the same amount of daylight hours as if they were outside, and they didn't. They got as much as the tomatoes and everything else. So I'm guessing they're going to not produce as nice big onions as I'd like them to, but they'll produce something, even if it's the tops, the onion greens. I'm okay with that. So there I've got some onions planted in amongst my strawberries. Can't wait for them to grow bigger. My garlic is looking sad. We did get hit some real cold weather for here. That may have turned it yellow, but I mean, we have a pretty mild climate. But I'm thinking I need to feed them. They might be lacking nitrogen or something. They're a little bit yellow. Even the ones in the bag that are in a different soil are looking yellow, so I'm not sure. These do look better. So I'm not really sure what to think. Alright, I'm gonna plant my bag of onions. I should probably trim them down a little bit and then put the trimmings in our salad. We'll see. Right now I'm just gonna get them in the ground. That was easy. You just pull them out of the bag. The next thing is to gently separate their roots. They don't have a ton of roots at this stage, or really at any stage. If you look at an onion, they don't have a ton of roots, do they? And then I'm just gonna separate them all out and put them in a little pile so that I can plant them. I'm gonna go ahead, I have some bulb onions too. Some little sets I'm gonna put out. And I'm wondering if this year they're gonna actually do better since I messed up with the lighting on these, or maybe they'll do the same. It'll be interesting to see. My daughter's working on a chicken video about the best, easiest breeds of chickens to start out with if you're thinking about getting chicks. And hopefully we have that posted up by the end of the week, because this is the time of year to get chicks, and there are definitely breeds out there that are super sweet. and fun to, you know, how follow you around. They think you're their buddy, and you are their buddy. So that's appropriate, isn't it? All right, so all of those little onion starts are in. Yay! And then I'm gonna side dress the garlic with this stuff. It's what I happen to have on hand. It'll give them some sort of nourishment, even if it's not the right thing. Which means I'm simply going to be sprinkling it around through the bed. We're supposed to get a ton of rain as usual, so it'll help leach it down a bit. Well, that wraps up this week. I'm not sure what we're gonna get done next week, but until next time, see ya.